I didn't know if you could derail trains, and this is going to answer my question. This is part of the setup for this. Yeah, you can derail things. Yeah, the setup for this was not really complicated, but when you're testing something, you've got to try and be consistent. So you need the right place, so you can have a consistent braking point. Otherwise, it's not going to be a true test, is it? So yeah, I'm used to doing this sort of thing though. I used to do it in Forza and them sort of games where you test setups and things like that. So I do laps and laps, seeing what difference a couple of pounds of tyre pressure's made, or softening dampers and springs and on ovals with the cambers and stuff like that. The cambers are important on ovals, aren't they? Anyway, so this brake test, you've got to be consistent. So you need a consistent braking point, and then you need a consistent way to apply the brakes and find out which is most efficient. So I quite had fun. I had fun doing that, yeah, because it's the sort of thing I like doing. It's a bit geeky. So I found myself a bit of track, and then I found somewhere that could be consistent, and then I found somewhere that I could actually measure it correctly. All in the space of a mile on one of the scenarios. So here we are, we're going 100 miles an hour, and we're just over a mile away from where I'm going to actually start braking, and then we're going to get to a little bridge, you'll see it, and then there's a green light. So this is one of the test runs, so I'm a little bit late on the brakes on that one, and I'm still on the throttle. So here we go, off the throttle now. So I'm about to find out when I do other ones following this, which is, that it's important to do things in the right sequence to get consistency. So it's the right place and the right sequence of events you need. So on this one, I've got somewhere to measure it, because the game's telling me the exact amount of yards. And this one stops at 278 yards. So that's a little bit of a benchmark there. But you need consistency, so you need at least 2 consistent runs to know that you're gonna get the right result. Well, I did a lot of runs, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just 2 where I get it really consistent. I did get it consistent, and no matter how much I did it, I was always within 2 or 3 yards. Once I got the braking point set up, and the speed's slightly variable, because sometimes I'd be doing like 102 or something like that, and other times I'd be doing maybe slightly less. So that'd have a little effect, the odd 1 mile an hour here and there, give you an extra yard or 2. But I did get it down very consistent. And the other thing is that there's different ways of braking. There's 2 different brakes. There's a straight brake and there's the driver's brake on this. And if you look under where it says distance and next and the green, just under there is where I'm going to use the controller, and you can see what's being applied and when it comes up with white writing. I'm not going to zoom in or anything like that, because it'll just make it look weird. So if you're on the phone, you're going to have difficulty in seeing it. But I did do exactly the same thing at the point every time. And what I found was the best way to brake was use the controller simultaneously, which is something you couldn't do by just using the levers in the train, using a mouse. So the controller actually stops you faster. And what I did is I pressed the brake, and as I'm pressing the brake, which is the left trigger, I hit the right bumper button, which takes the throttle off, and I kept the reverser in forward. And I do test it with reverser later on, but I'll show you results of that. So I'm over 100 miles an hour now, and I'm approaching the braking point. I'll cut on the next one, just explaining it. Here's the braking point, the bridge, the green, everything's on. Brakes, emergency, and now the throttle's off. So now it's just a matter of sitting here and waiting until it stops and then seeing what the distance is. And this one's going to be the benchmark, really, because obviously the higher the number, the better you've braked. If you know what I mean, the faster it stopped. So if we'd stopped at 400 yards, the brakes would have been better, and that was 372 yards on that run. So there's the benchmark. So this is the second run. I'm only going to show you two. There's no point because it's consistent. I tested it a lot. Ooh, look, a real professional train driver at work there. Even tooted me on. There was an update as well with this game. I can't really tell what it changed, to be honest with you. It doesn't seem to have changed anything that much. In fact, I can't tell what it's changed. And there's the braking point. So there we are. We're on it. See how the brake pressure takes time to build up? There's a bit of a delay, and you notice the G meter. That'd create some heat, I should imagine. Well, it would create some heat. You'd have to imagine it. That speed's got to go somewhere, and it turns into heat, doesn't it? Energy. Right. Now where are we going to stop? $371 meters, if I'm reading that right, which I might not be because I'm on that little screen that I keep talking about on the editing software. Right, so now there's another test to do. In fact, there's another couple of tests to do, and this one is now, because the train has two brakes. It's got the driver's brake and a straight brake. This one I'm going to apply both, so the braking process will take longer, and we'll see if there's any actual difference. So we're doing 101 miles an hour. Not long till the braking point now. When you're doing this sort of thing, by the way, the game keeps track of all your mileage as well, I noticed. And there's the braking point. So there I'm doing everything. That's the driver's brake on, throttle off. Now I'm switching to straight brake, and the straight brake's fully on now. You see the brake pressure build up, and the speed starting to bleed off faster and faster. Now I've got two brakes applied, so theoretically you would think that you would stop faster, and if you don't, there'll be a reason why, and I'm not sure what that reason would be. I don't really know how trains work. Possibly it's if the driver's brake's working, every wheel is getting a braking force on it. So there, 326 yards rather. So that's worse somehow. So some stopped us braking as efficiently. That's a bit strange, but like I said, maybe it's because the driver's brake brakes all the wheels, and maybe the straight brake interfered with it. Now this is a run where by accident I over applied the brakes and put the driver's brake into neutral, and we'll see what happens here. I think I might use I might be using the straight brake as well. I can't remember. This is just really to show you that you can make a bit of mistake braking. So I've got the throttle on straight brakes 100%. Now you put the driver's brake onto emergency, and I've gone back to straight brake. Yeah, and I've put the driver's brake into neutral shutdown. I don't think that really helped. Obviously the throttle's off, reverse is still forward. Yeah, you can tell this train's going faster. It's not going to stop as fast, is it? You don't even need to see the numbers. You can just see. So you're gonna be a bit careful with how you brake, I suppose. And you got to remember, this is only one train. Some trains don't have 2 brakes, and then I tried a big American train, the big freight train, and that has, I think it's got 3 or 4 different sorts of braking on it. It was very interesting. That big freight train, it's massive as well. It was quite hard to drive. You couldn't control the speed properly. So I'm up to 100 mile an hour, and now I'm going to try it with the driver's brake on emergency, and then I'm put the revs down, and I put it into reverse, and then I put the throttle up full to see if you could use the reverser. Because when I was a kid, I used to watch this program called Casey Jones. It was great. It was a train driver. Anyway, every week he had to there was always an emergency. It was a bit cowboy and all that, you know, it's for kids, thrilling. And he always put the reverser on to stop the train, you know, then it showed you the train going forward, but the wheels going backwards. It was great when we were kids. Yeah, that didn't really work that well, did it? It didn't make any particular difference, did it? I think it might have been a bit longer, really. That's it, really. And the only other test that remains to be done is just using the straight brake to see what happens. So guess what? I went to all that trouble. I did this run a lot of times. I spent a long time doing this, and I didn't. You see, some of the times I didn't get up to speed like this. I'm not actually up to speed here. I'm only doing 96. So this would have been a dead run anyway, but I'm still going to show you it, because even though I'm going slower, you're going to see what happens when you just use the straight brake. Now I'm doing 97. I'm keeping you in suspense. No, the drama. And there's the braking point. So yeah, I've kept the throttle on, haven't I, as well. That's not helped. So the throttle's off now. Now look at the G meter above where it says 94 in red. Now it's 93. It's hardly moving, is it? That's a huge difference. So the straight brake is very marginal, whether it's actually a brake or not, because I'm off the throttle here and I can't tell what the incline is. I think the incline actually just flattened out. I think it possibly was going downhill. So here we're doing 83 through the station. Bye bye passengers. And if there'd have been a red light there, that'd have been end of scenario, obviously. Yeah, it's pretty unceremonious when it ends a scenario. You see, even though it had an update, I don't know if you looked at my review on this pack, they haven't really improved graphics, have they, at all? That grass doesn't look like grass, it just sort of looks like wet shiny stuff, doesn't it? Because this scenario is I think it's called Driving Rain. In fact, I'm sure it's called Driving Rain. I saw it about 100 times when I was doing this other day. And we're still going, aren't we? We're along. That's a long overshoot, isn't it? It's just going on and on and on. Hardly stopped at all. So you can just tell, you don't even need to see this train stop, that's just the brakes haven't really worked effectively. Look how shiny it is. It's not quite right, that, is it? It looks like there's been a real monsoon and everywhere's flooded. Yeah, I hope that was informative for you. I enjoyed doing that test, but it's a sort of geeky thing I like doing. That's probably why I used to like Forza so much. Thanks for watching.